Well, this is a farewell and goodbye to the DC Extended Universe.
Those were up, and they did.
More smarts, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be a film that just came out tonight, and it's for the another DCEU movie. Except here's the thing, though. This was planned as the very last DCEU movie I was going to watch, and it's the very final review of the DCEU series. After this review, the DCEU series will be complete. And that review is going to be for this weekend's the sequel to 2019 film Shazam, Fury of the Gods, released this weekend. What's the plot of this? Well, Billy Batson and his foster siblings, who transform into superheroes by saying Shazam, are forced to get back into action and fight the Daughters of Atlas. Then they must stop them from using a weapon that could destroy the world. Yeah, so what's the plot of this movie? Well, with the successful opening of Shazam in April 2019, Henry Gadding was revealed to be returning to write the script for a sequel, and director David F. Sandberg and producer Peter Safran were also expected to return. Later that month, Michelle Broth, who portrayed the Atlas superhero form of Mary Brunfield in the first film, said she signed for a 5-picture deal for the role and was expected to return for at least one sequel. And Zachary Levi confirmed in June that he was returning to star Shazam in the sequel, and revealed that writing began ahead of a planned film start in mid-2020. Sandberg and much of the first film's crew were confirmed to return in December 2019, when New Line Cinema and Warner Bros. Pictures scheduled the sequel for release on April 1st, 2022. And then that it was delayed in April 2020 to November 4th, 2022, due to obvious reasons I don't need to mention. In October 2020, the release date was once again shifted to June 2nd, 2023, and later release dates were December 16th, 2022, and December 21st, 2022. But then, of course, stupid Avatar Way of Piss got in the way, so Warner Bros. Was forced to delay it to March 17th, 2023, and it kept that release date. And then in June 2020, Mark Millar's confirmed that she would reprise a role to foster mother Rosa from the first film, and revealed that filming had been delayed by the pandemic. The film's title was revealed to be Shazam Fury of the Gods during the virtual DC fandom event in August 2020, with returning cast members confirmed including Asher Angel as teenager Billy Batson, and Levi as his adult superhero counterpart, Jonathan Grazer as Freddy, and Adam Brody as his adult counterpart, Vicky Herman as Darla and Megan Good as her adult counterpart, Grace Fulton as Mary, Ian Chen as Eugene, and Ross Butler as an adult counterpart, Eno Van Armand as Pedro, and DJ Kuroda as his adult counterpart. Then the next month, Levi even stated the filming would begin in early 2021. So, there's all that. And Chris Morgan contributed to the film's script, and early during the film's development, Sandberg wanted to bring back Mr. Mind, a villainous character teased in the mid-credits scene of the first film whom Sandberg voiced, for the sequel to a bigger role, but his inclusion was ultimately dropped due to requiring too much of the film's runtime. Aside that, he had to drop several other elements to not overstuff the film. And principal photography began on May 26, 2021 in Atlanta, Georgia, with Goya Padro serving as cinematographer. Production of the film was then delayed from initial mid-2020 start. Then in June, Sandberg revealed that Fulton was also portraying the Alice superhero form of Mary in the film, replacing Barth with Fulton's hair and makeup adjusted to superhero version. Then a month later, Seth Photos revealed that Digimon Honson would also be reprising his role in Wizard Shazam, and the filming concluded on August 31st, 2021. So after the movie was filmed and then marketed, and overly delayed, Shazam! Fury of the Gods would then premiere at the Regency Westwood Theater in Westwood, Los Angeles on March 14th, 2023, and is released in the United States on March 17th, 2023. The film received mixed reviews from critics. They were originally positive, but then went on to be mixed. Some were positive, but they weren't on the level of the original. As for my reaction, however, well, y'all remember when I confirmed this was going to be the last DCEU film I'd be seeing thanks to a certain asshole rebooting everything for the money and critics? Well, I just watched my final DCEU film tonight in 4DX, and it was pretty good. Was it as good as the first one? Well, no. But I thought it was still a nice sequel, and it was a pretty decently good way to end my DCEU journey. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is an entertaining follow-up to its 2019 predecessor, proving to be an absolutely worthwhile sequel. Simply put, fans of the first one should be pleased. Some are not, though, but some should still be pleased. This is especially thanks to the very solid ensemble, which is again highlighted by Levi's titular Shazam, and he is the heart of the story in both its comedy and emotion, delivering lines in such perfect timing as well as aiding the character of a genuinely emotional side. Angel Grazer and Myrn additionally stand out to their respectively convincing performances as two best friends and a movie's central antagonists. The film balances these dynamics fairly well, crafting a tone that permits the characters to be either humorous or serious in the right moments. Most action scenes are interesting too, particularly in the second and third acts that feature the abundance of interesting creature designs that is surrounded by largely successful visual effects. These are various ideas expanding the world's lore too, which is appreciable in of itself. And the first Shazam movie was a fun movie that introduced us to one of the lesser-known superheroes in the DCEU, and Shazam! Fury of the Gods continues some of what we got in the first film while presenting audiences with a new but not necessarily better plot and script. Sandberg and his screenwriters Henry Gayden and Chris Morgan definitely navigate the two worlds here, with that of the teenagers the most engaging, which they switch to being 30-year-olds led by their older superhero selves. The sequel is really up the ante with fire-breathing dragons too, and other creatures employed by those devilish goddesses Hespera and Calypso, played by Ellen Mirren and Lucy Liu, and the younger member of the trio, Anthony, played by Rachel Zegler of West Side Story fame. The action is really quadrupled here, as are the special effects. I gotta say, I really loved Helen and Lucy Liu's performances here. Here, I think this might be one of my favorite live-action Lucy Liu roles since Kill Bill, or Ren Ishii from Kill Bill. And easily one of my favorite live-action Helen Mirren roles. Here, and the themes of this movie align perfectly with the first. In a bright contrast to the bleak DCEU, this one was fun, it doesn't take itself seriously, but doesn't insult your intelligence. Young actors hold their own against veterans, Leo and Myrn. Their personalities stand out from one another and carry out over to their adult Shazams except for Billy. Billy as a kid is distinctly even more mature than Shazam Billy in this film. Easily, really like what they did there, where the kid Billy is more mature and the adult Shazam is the immature one. However, when it comes to Honso's character, I'm still not a fan of Honso's character in this franchise. Honestly, I just don't really care much about his character, really. And I kind of don't get how he survived the first film after he got turned to dust. It's kind of just never explained why he's still alive. We saw Savannah turn to dust in the first one, so it makes no sense for him to come back. Alive and well. Makes no sense. And Shazam! Fury of the Gods therefore focuses a lot, as anticipated, on the concept of family, a decidedly non-traditional family made up of a couple with 6 adopted children from the different realities and backgrounds. One of the biggest fears which arose from the end of the previous film was that an entire family of superheroes could be managed, each with their personalities and abilities. Although this was the most difficult aspect to manage, as admitted by the director himself, the result is a balance that does not displease, in any case providing each of the characters with the possibility of having their movements, without however stealing the show from the real protagonist and not making everything chaotic. Indeed, the very way in which Shazam's family superheroes are managed helps to better tell the protagonist particularly live lively fear of growing up and seeing himself further and further away from his loved ones. And honestly, Shazam! Fury of the Gods is pretty good, with everything kind of just elevated and taken beautifully from the prequel. The last of this film had been adopted to make them generic to all audience ranges, not just targeted towards younger ages. And CGI has been turned up a lot, and it's visible to see through the of Atlas and what they bring to them throughout the film. And speaking of these daughters, Anthea alongside Freddie Furman have one of the best character dynamics across both these films. Like, in these terms, I can praise Fury of the Gods for allowing its characters to go on nice arcs across the film, even giving us some insights to each individual member of the Shazam family. On the other hand, though, there are times when I even feel the movie kind of gets a little too hectic. Like, certain plot points do feel a bit silly, and there were moments in the film where I questioned the amount of silliness that the sequel provides, and sometimes it was the silliness that drove the plot forward, which allowed audiences not to take the film as seriously, despite the higher stakes. And villain-wise, Helen and Lucy's portrayals of the daughters of Atlas were fairly good, but their characters were very one-dimensional. We couldn't really respect them as villains. Like, Rachel Ziegler's Anthea was great, and she was the only one I kind of fell for, but I wish she were involved in more fight scenes with the other daughters, as her potential would have improved the quality of these fights that were similar to the first films. Not much of an improvement, and still quite weak compared to other superhero fight scenes. Now, I still did like this more than I expected to, but this isn't a perfect movie with no flaws. Like, there definitely are aspects of the film I wish were better. The CGI did kind of look cheap in parts, especially during the first act, and at times too much expositional dialogue felt tedious to sit through. I mean, then again, I didn't really expect a sequel to be better. We know how DCEU is with sequels most of the time, except for the Suicide Squad. Like, Wonder Woman 84 was weak. Very, very weak. So, I did have a bit of worry for this one, too. And I know Aquaman 2 is getting really bad reviews already. And, but yeah. But still, despite some bad CGI, the action sequences are fantastic and the jokes are funny. The battle between our heroes and enemy monsters in the third act of the movie somehow kind of remind me of the Percy Jackson films, because there's like Minotaurs, Chimeras, Cyclops, and of course, even unicorns even in one funny moment. Were they redeemed because they get fed Skittles and stuff? So it was pretty funny seeing the unicorns like stabbing the monsters with their horns. And like, this film is just a fun, charming adventure that captures the spirit of the original comic books in the first film. The humor is witty and wholesome, the action is exciting and creative, the heart is warm and sincere even. The film explores themes of family, friendship, responsibility, and identity in a lighthearted and uplifting way. The cast is excellent, especially Levi embodies the childlike wonder and joy of Shazam perfectly. The special effects and sets were impressive too. But both Shazam films shine when it comes to the characters and the heart and soul of the story. Like, this isn't just a Shazam movie on like last year's Black Adam, where the movie just focused on the Rock's Tyler character only. In Shazam movies, like, every member of the family are memorable, likable, just like the main character. The adult versions, like most of the movies, the adult versions of this movie, the kid versions of them don't really get a lot of screen time, which is another kind of iffy issue. Like, and it's great, but it is also great we get to see more of the adult versions, because we only saw most of the adult versions except for Shazam, aka adult Billy's form, in the final act of the first film. And Lucy Liu meant business. Like, she wasn't a great villain, but she wasn't bad either. I did like her performance. She did damage, and so did Helen Mirren, but Lucy Liu felt more menacing, and Jack Dylan Grazer was actually just as amazing as in the first film here. And the VFX and visuals were still great for such a small budget, despite being a little wonky at times. And I want to mention the last 10 to 15 minutes was epic and emotionally driven too. There was a perfectly badass moment in the final fight sequence many will love. And there was even some emotional parts here too. Like, near the end of the movie, Billy actually kind of makes this rogue sacrifice by getting himself trapped in this dome that Lucy Liu's character and Helen Mirren's character put over the whole town. Yeah, get it? Like The Simpsons, this magic dome. Like the Simpsons movie. No, not... Okay, well, it's not the main focus like in the Simpsons movie, but that dome over the town kind of reminded me of the Simpsons movie a little bit. Which it was kind of funny there. Kind of funny little throwback. And easily, like, Billy pretty much sacrifices his whole power to defeat Lucy Liu's character. And like, you get a little emotional moment between him and Freddy as well. And I really liked that. Most of the time, and I really liked how, like, I felt Billy was more likable in this movie, because I didn't really like Billy most of the first film. I thought he was kind of a bit annoying in the first film. But we did understand why he was kind of like that, so I'm glad they improved his character in the sequel. They made him a little more likable this time around. Here, and it was perfect right here. Like, throughout the movie, he doesn't want to lose his foster family in this one because he's fully adopted to them. He's feared because he fears like around 18 he's gonna be dropped out of the foster system in here. So he's terrified of losing his own family. He doesn't want to lose them. He especially doesn't want to lose Freddy as well. But I really like the moments they have together here and stuff. Like when it looks like it actually looks as if Billy's actually dead, and the whole family is actually mourning him and stuff. And it's a pretty emotional moment. You even get an emotional moment of Freddy putting the picture of them together when they looked like their younger selves from the first film on Billy's grave. But there was an epic cameo I loved. You know, in the first one, Superman kind of cameos in the first one, except we don't see his face, and sadly Henry Cavill didn't come back, which could have been awesome if they had gotten him back for the role. I kind of wish they did for the first one's cameo of Superman. Well, guess what, guys? Throughout the movie, there's this kind of funny running gag of Billy having a crush on Wonder Woman and stuff, and even a funny moment where he's on a date with Wonder Woman. We don't see Wonder Woman's face in that moment. When it tries to cut to Wonder Woman's face, it turns out the wizard's face is on Wonder Woman's body, and it was hilarious. It's pretty hilarious reveal right there. But this reveal, they actually got Gal Gadot to cameo. I'm not kidding, guys. This is a major spoiler, but Gal Gadot actually came back in a cameo and was the one to revive Billy. Like, I really love they actually got Gal Gadot to cameo in this scene one last time as a character. It was nice to see her do the character one more scene, one more time. And it felt like a very good goodbye to her version of Wonder Woman right here. It also felt like we were actually saying goodbye to her version right there. Since we all know the Snyderverse is now pretty much gone. But it was nice we got to see her again for one more scene. So I really loved that. Well, apparently the Warner Brothers stupidly spoiled it in one of the TV spots, like they ruined everything. So I'm sure people knew she was going to appear in some points, but I hadn't watched the TV spot, so I guess I'm kind of glad I did. So her cameo caught me by surprise. Like, she wasn't just there to show her face. Her appearance influenced the plots, and we got a great payoff to one of the film's running gags regarding Billy's crush on Wonder Woman. And the good news is that the cast and crew hadn't lost their sense of fun. The Shazam films are, after all, stories about literal children being gifted the power of gods, and the various missteps and tonal contrasts that can pop up thanks to that premise. It's there that the film shines brightest when the movie takes a few minutes to breathe and let the heroic family just be together. It's a lot of fun. And Levi's comic timing is still on point, as is Grazer's, and the film's attempts to build up the largest superhero cast a bit more. The first Shazam featured many positive messages about family, and its sequel's no different. Like in the first one, Billy struggled believing whether or not a genuine loving family could actually exist. In the second, Billy struggles with the fear that his family is going to abandon him like his birth mother did. And that's because he's about to turn 18, and it meant his foster parents, Victor Rose, would no longer be able to receive federal aid for housing him, and according to Mary, the oldest of the foster siblings, his options would be get a job to help the struggling parents or move out. The fear of abandonment is really evident here. Like, Billy tells a man he feels abandoned by his mother, his family, and his city, last of which thinks of the superhero siblings as fiascos. The fear of abandonment is perhaps why Billy's so focused on making sure that he and his siblings only go crime fighting as a team. And Billy's fears are eventually assuaged by Rosa, who tells him that he'll never age out of his home, ever. So it's perfect. It's a perfect message right there. And when it comes to Shazam, all it needs is to be just entertaining, fun family movie. And it succeeds in that. Even in the comic, Shazam isn't known to be the deepest character with the strongest storyline. It's more about entertainment, but besides the humor, I really love how important the concept of family is in the movie, just like in the last one. And Helen Mirren is pretty much at the point of her career here, where it just looks like she just wants to pick fun roles. She looks like she looked like she was having a blast. And even Lucy Liu at times was just handing it up too. There's nothing particularly special about their performances, but I enjoyed watching them. The CGI in this film was not superb by any means, but that's alright. It's a much cheaper superhero film to make that most, which is why I really hope it's able to make at least a profit, even though we're clearly not going to get an actually proper third one. And it deserves some notice too. These films just don't seem to garner a big audience. However, the reason it's not as good as the first one is these bad qualities I had with the film. Like, first off, it did have a decent start when it comes to setting up the characters' dynamics. They didn't feel as much like a family in this one. Plus, nobody other than Freddy has a simple personality traits as well. And this story was incredibly predictable, but that doesn't bother me that much. I did like the first one because the characters' tone and overall presentation. Well, I'm happy to report the tone and overall presentation are the same, if not better in some cases. Like, I'm devastated to report that the characters were not as great as they once were, except for Freddy. And I did not know much about the Daughters of Atlas before the film, and I know only a little bit more now. Most of the movie was spent on the emotional state of the protagonist and his sidekick and try to focus on comedy rather than story. And the movie can be a bit eye-rolling cheesy at times, because Zachary Levi and Megan Good childlike manner do not match their kid version, and it can throw you off a bit. Nasher Angel was not in it as much, to be honest. The scenes he is in are great, and I wish we kind of saw a little more of him in this one than adult Shazam. A little bit more. Because we could have had some great moments with Asher Angel here. We could have had some great moments with Kid Billy here. So we kind of should have saw a little more Kid Billy in this sequel. And although rated PG-13, the movie is strangely written to appeal to a PG audience. And I'm not trying to make too much of ratings, which I'm expressing the overall disjointed feel of the movie. Had they simply appealed to a more kid-friendly demo, the movies probably would have felt normal. Instead, it's overly mature and feels unsure of where it's going. The story makes little sense, is overly unfamiliar, and not in a good what-to-know-more way, but in a ran-out-of-ideas way. And the movie even kicks up the action scenes and special effects, but the storyline lacks the heart and charm of the first film. I did love the incorporation of mythological creatures, especially the villain's creatures and the unicorns. And I will say the dragon was uneven with some sequences that were awesome and some that were too much. Once again, Jamil Olsen was still excellent, even though I'm not really a big fan of his character. And Lil Murd were decent villains. The comedy was a hit or miss with some good laughs here and there was some cheese also. But despite those and net bad qualities and not being as good as the first film, I personally thought Shazam! Fury of the Gods was still a pretty fun sequel I did enjoy watching. I felt like it was a fun enough send-off for my journey into DC Universe. In the end, I recommend Shazam! Fury of the Gods to Shazam fans and fans that love the more self-aware DCEU over the dark DCEU. Also, this is just my send-off to the DCEU as a whole. It was a nice journey, but now that journey is over, and it's time to move on to plenty of other things. Honestly, I'm just kind of... I think like a lot of people, I think even I'm kind of getting fed up with superhero movies at this rate. Maybe we should just go back to normal genres at this rate. I mean, maybe it's just better we just go back to normal movies now. And I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to see how the rest of the year goes. That's going to be a great journey. Anyway, that's it for my review of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. If we're not hungry Shazam! Fury of the Gods, here's how I'm going to rank this movie.
So overall, if you love the first film and want to see Billy and his siblings back again, then I do recommend watching Abinus, but don't expect a great movie like the first one. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I'm going to give Shazam! Fury of the Gods a 7.5 out of 10.
And there we go. That wraps up my review for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And with that pretty much wraps up my whole review series for the DC Extended Universe. So next week, I'll just film the Ant-Man review this weekend, and then I'll post that Monday. And then I'm probably going to take a break from reviews and do some re-ranking the Scream franchise and ranking the DCEU. Maybe take a break for reviews for a little bit before I review John Wick 4. So, yeah, do some videos I haven't done in a while. I think I've been doing a little too much reviews, so I want to do some other videos I like doing, not just reviews, guys. I think I've been doing a little too much reviews, and that's probably been losing a bit of causing some subscribers to lose some interest. So let's try to do some other videos for a change. But until then, guys, that'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.